Welcome to This Week in Location-Based Marketing, the most trusted podcast dedicated to the new business of location. It is time for This Week in Location-Based Marketing. This is episode number 157. If you're doing the math, that is our first episode of our fourth year. This is November 22nd. That is a Friday evening, a dreary, rainy Friday evening in November. My name is Rob Woodbridge from Untether.tv, located in Ottawa, Ontario, Canada. With me as usual,
Asif Khan from the Location-Based Marketing Association, also in very rainy Toronto, not too far from you, but equally the same weather pattern.
Come on, our local ski hill here, Camp Fortune, opened up today. Can you believe it? We have a ski hill open. It's got one run, and it's got basically like two tracks. So you put your skis in it, you go down. But it's
there
open,
you go.
And it's pouring rain outside, and it's like 6 or 7 degrees Celsius, but not so great. Welcome back, Asif. Our new year begins today. Our fourth year together, the start of our fourth year together, 157 episodes in. The reaction last week was very good. I'm very heartwarming and felt, that people really cared. I put out this Twitter post that, Cal Ripken, watch out, because we've done 156 episodes, and Mark Sutcliffe, who is a local publisher here in the city of Ottawa, runs the Ottawa Business Journal. He's a writer for the local newspaper and also on the local radio station. He's basically a media man. Says, hey, do that for 13 more years, pal, then we'll talk. So he crushed my spirits. But they will not be crushed. And we will continue the streak. 157 consecutive episodes. What's new in your end of the world there, Asif?
It's been good. I've been able to actually be at home for like an entire week, which hasn't been heard of for a while around here. So that's been good. Got out to an interesting event the other night here in Toronto to catch up with some folks, and met up with some of the Rogers Media guys, the publishing side. So had some good conversations about the magazine world and where that's going. But yeah, it's been nice, and it doesn't last for long. I'm leaving on Tuesday and heading off to Scotland for the launch of our newest chapter, the Edinburgh chapter over there, that's this coming Thursday on the 28th of November. I'll be over for that, and excited about prospects for that. Looks like we're gonna have a full house. So
amazing, and you get to go to Scotland.
Yeah.
That's what you got to do.
Probably be just as cold as here.
Yeah, but that's okay. It's Scotland. It's different.
It's Scotland.
It's a different cold.
It's gray.
Yeah, why don't you open up like the Northwest Territories, or why don't you open up like the Alaskan version, the Alaskan chapter? Come on.
No.
Pick the places you've always wanted to go. The Iqaluit, the Nunavut chapter of the Location-Based Marketing Association. I will go up there and open that. It'll be me and a couple of guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not quite on my radar.
No, I understand that.
Yeah, we got some interesting new chapters on the horizon, so there'll be lots more to talk about in the new year, in particular, in the first and second quarters. I mean, lots going on next year in terms of Australia and Brazil and China and all kinds of places we're going to. So yeah.
So does that mean that you get to go there, or is this just you're just going to tease us with this stuff? Is that?
Yeah, no, I'll be there. I don't miss an opening of a chapter for sure.
I love it. It's like our mayor. He never misses the chance to cut a ribbon, right? You're the mayor of Mobile.
Did you see the piece, the Conan O'Brien piece with Ron Burgundy and all that?
It was very funny. Everybody's working for the... Yeah, it was funny.
I love the Lover Boy, man. I love it.
Getting into the political arena.
I am
just a
as well.
little treat that I wanted to bring up.
My dear, dear, dear friend, Mayor Rob Ford of Toronto, is running for re-election, and I hold him in the highest regard. He is the best.
Okay.
And,
really? He's the best?
Oh, outstanding individual. And his little brother, Donnie, or Dougie, or whatever. But he's asked me to sing the campaign theme song for his re-election.
This is controversial. He's a controversial figure. And
he's controversial because he's so damn honest. Yeah.
Okay, so you've chosen to sing the campaign song for Mayor Rob Ford.
Of course, who wouldn't?
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
It's a little, one of his favorite bands from Calgary, Loverboy. And I am just so thrilled.
Yeah. And you're gonna...
He's the best.
Okay. You're gonna sing this for us?
I'm gonna sing it for you right now.
Well, this is fantastic.
watching to see what you will do. Everyone's looking at you. Looking at you, Rob. Everyone's wondering, will you come out tonight? Everyone's trying to get it right, get it right. Everybody's working for the weekend. That's right, Rob. Everybody wants a new romance. Everybody's going off the deep end. Don't do anything stupid, Rob. Everybody needs a second chance.
It's a great Canadian, In fact, there's a mashup right now out there. I don't want to take up too much time about this. We're talking about Rob Ford because he is all the rage. He's obviously Toronto's mayor, or handicapped mayor, or crack cocaine mayor, whatever you want to call him. He's an interesting character. He looks like Farley, right? And so they did this mashup of the Rob Ford story, basically told in Chris Farley clips of his video, of all of his videos that he's did. Chris Farley's of course dead, but so they just spliced it up into the Rob Ford story. It is absolutely hysterical. I will. You should do a Google search, but you should do a Google search, like a YouTube search for it, and it is very funny. For those of you who have no idea who Rob Ford is, I'm absolutely positive you do know who Rob Ford is. If you listen to this podcast, you know that Rob Ford, you know who he is, but it's very, very, very funny.
I'm stoned. Do you have any idea how fast you were going?
I guess I was going about 65 tops.
7 miles an hour. And normally when I stop people, they pull onto the shoulder.
Spent a little too much time puking off balconies. You're a huge embarrassing failure. This town doesn't even know what's about to hit. I just want you to know that as long as I'm around, I'm gonna bust my butt and make sure that every last one of you always has a job. You can put 6 packs of soda in here?
Want one?
I'd better not. He says rectum damn near killed him. The whole car smells like beer. They're never gonna believe I wasn't drinking. He must be all hopped up on crack cocaine. That's it! Wake up, slut! I can't stop! Ah!
It's actually hysterical. But I like the Ron Burgundy thing as well. We should mention the fact that we are actually going to be at the same place at the same time. We are, in fact, actually going to be at a conference together in Washington, D.C. At Motive East. And that's coming up very soon, December 12th and 13th.
Yes, absolutely. And we're doing a workshop together on location and mobile and all of that. So excited about that. Hey, we might even have to do this show live from there, Rob. You never know.
Can you imagine? How would we do that?
I don't know. We'll have to figure that out.
We could do that. We just need a camera, a couple of mics. Come on. Let's figure that out. I think that we should be able to do that. Yeah. Because we're going to be Friday.
And by the way, for those of you who listen to the show or watch this show and do your own podcasts and things like that, when I was out this week here in Toronto, I was at this thing where these startups were pitching their ideas. And one of the companies that's launching, and this is something that, Rob and I haven't even talked about this yet, but it's something we're going to check out, but it's called Insta Radio. And it hasn't officially launched yet. It's just INSTA Radio, and basically it's a live to web broadcast of whatever you're doing. Wow. So basically it creates a channel for you, and you can push out your content, and it's crazy. So we as we're recording this right now, Rob, we could be broadcasting it at the same time. Crazy, right?
Technology's gone so far. It's gone so far, like broadcast television, right from your home. I like that.
Yeah. So their audio, obviously, they're focused on trying disrupting terrestrial radio, but we'll see where that goes. Anyhow,
I'm gonna try to
I
figure this out.
digress. We got a big show.
We do, but so if you want to go to gomotive.com, you can find out a little bit more about that and when our session is. And we're going to try to figure out if we can do a live broadcast, sitting next to each other, camera in front, mic. See if we can do that. That'd be just freaky.
That'd be awesome.
I think it would disrupt the continuum. So I don't know if we can do that.
This is the kind of stuff you do once you're into your 4th year.
You do. You try things. You try things.
We try things.
All right, so we do have a very busy show. We've got our usual things. We got a Mobile Minute with Chuck Martin. We got an App of the Week, which is a company called Spraffl, which is very relevant to where you're going next week. Our guest is James Smith, who's the Chief Revenue Officer for a company called Verve, at vervemobile.com. Of course, we got our resource of the weekend. Did you know, I'm just going to give you a little teaser, that you and I don't like giving away our little our browsing history, but we'll give away our location. Very fascinating study that was published on Street Fight. But before we get into this, why don't we let's start with the Mobile Minute. We'll just get the Mobile Minute over with. Here is Chuck Martin with our latest episode of the Mobile Minute. Chuck, take it away. Welcome back to yet another Mobile Minute. Hey, listen, as we're getting into Black Friday territory, how do you think mobile's going to have an impact on the madness?
Well, we're being deluged with surveys right now that show what's going to be happening around the holiday season. The new major Accenture 2013 holiday shopping survey shows that 38% of shoppers are going to be heading to stores on Thanksgiving Day. So Thanksgiving is going to be where it's at. A large number, 41%, won't be out until 6 p.m. or later. So it looks like people are going to be having their turkey and then in the evening heading out to the stores. It's not just one store they're going to be at either. More than a third, 38%, are going to visit 4 or more stores. And more people are going to be showrooming, 63% compared to 56% last year, according to Accenture, which is really higher projections than some other surveys are showing. The reverse of that is also true, with 65% of shoppers saying they're going to be browsing online, then heading to store for the actual purchase. So it's kind of reverse showrooming, if you will. Demographics you might expect play a role in this. Younger shoppers, those 18 to 24, 55% are going to be out shopping on Thanksgiving Day. So it's really a lot. Women, 42% versus men, 31% are likely to be shopping. So women are going to be really sort of leading the charge here. And basically, shoppers are looking for deals, and we know this from every study that we've seen over the years. 48% are expecting the best discounts to be on Thanksgiving Day, Black Friday, and Cyber Monday. So get ready, shoppers. Here we go.
Chuck, if 65%, if it's only 65% that are researching online, what are the other 35% doing? Paying full price?
Yeah, they're subsidizing all of us, and we really love that. Just kidding.
We say thank you very much to that.
A lot of them really are subsidizing it, is the reality. So the people who are using their phones to their fullest are getting the deals.
That is the reason I do these things with Chuck Martin, because, man, the guy knows his stuff, especially in this space, this commerce, retail, this whole mashup of payments and everything like that. And obviously, you know what? We're about to enter this huge season, which is Black Friday, which is this coming Friday, and it is going to be crazy. And you're going to not even be here for this, are you, Steve? You're going to be watching it from abroad.
I will.
Wow, crazy. Well,
yes.
Chuck, we really appreciate you letting us do this. I appreciate that you do this with me every week. And if you're interested in subscribing to the Mobile Minute, you can do that from untether.tv, wherever these fine products are sold. Ha. All right, so you're heading to Scotland. You did some research. You found a Scottish company called Spraffl.
I did, yeah. So this was, obviously I'm trying to gear up make sure I know what's going on in the local market. And I came across this company that's based in Edinburgh called Spraffl. They've been around for a couple of years. Basically it's the name comes from, as I found out, the term Spraff is a Scottish term that basically means to yammer on or chit chat or, just kind of, be like Rob.
Be like
That's
Rob.
What it means. Yeah.
Spraff.
But anyways, so they've launched this platform. It's been, as I said, been around for a little while now, and it's all about posting messages anonymously based on location anywhere in the world. So it's not only a Scottish thing. You can do this anywhere, and it's completely anonymous. So you're not, nobody's following you and waiting to get messages because they care about what you have to say. You're not checking in anywhere. There's no points. There's no badges. There's none of that kind of stuff. It's just straight up anonymous location-based sharing of messages. And I think it's kind of cool. I think like the social discovery element of that is kind of cool. It's interesting. Obviously, you need to have some curation or moderation of this, which they allow for as well. They've got people who are checking to make sure that it's appropriate what's being posted out there. But yeah, take a look. SPRAFL
.com
is how you spell it. .com. What do you think, Rob?
I love the way that they talk about this. They call it the anonymous social experiment, and it's funny because it goes right up against what Google is doing with YouTube these days, which is that in order to leave a comment on YouTube, you have to set up a Google Plus account now, and there's no longer any anonymous posting. And I think that a lot of the blogs went that way. I know TechCrunch did with Facebook integration. So you cannot be anonymous anymore to be able to leave comments. And while that's cut down the clutter and the number of comments, it's actually improved the quality of the comments. So I'm not sure about this, but they call this the anonymous social experiment. And they say, listen, you don't have to. There are unlike all the other social networks, there are no friend networks to build, no people to follow, no check-ins, no badges, no points. There is absolutely no history. It's completely open. And in fact, they're actually building out an SDK or an API for this as well, which I think is fascinating. It's neat. And I'm so intrigued, but I think it could get contentious or litigious very quickly.
Yeah, and there's a ratings and review piece on this, so you can actually rate messages that you've read on this thing. And while it's anonymous, so you don't know who posted the message, that feedback or the rating can go privately to the person that posted the message. So,
oh, really?
Yeah, so that is a feature in here.
Well, it takes me back. There's a slight digression here, but it shows you the impact of an improper comment or two.
Yeah.
So there's a company here. There's a restaurant in Ottawa called Kinky. It's a sushi bar, and the owner the only way I can describe her is batshit crazy. Right? She is insane, and maybe that's litigious, but there was a woman who went in there and had a very bad experience with the food, the service, everything about the restaurant. So she went onto Yelp and she gave it a very bad review. Then that crazy owner of the restaurant of Kinky went out of her way and started slamming her, signed up for a whole bunch of different services with this woman's name and email address, and started basically ruining her not credit. She didn't go in and steal her identity, but I guess this is a person destroyed her reputation. That woman found out who it was, basically, and charged her, and then she was actually charged and went to jail. So you start to think about something like that, and this is an Ottawa restaurant called Kinky, where the owner is nuts, and this is what she did with one bad review from one woman who basically raked her over the coals. So I like this idea, Spraffl, but I think but when you start to think about the implication of being too honest, it's the challenge is this could happen, right? If you find out who that person is.
Yep.
So
For sure.
Spraffl.com. It's available on iPhone right now. Only Android's coming soon, and interesting about the API.
Yeah, for sure. I love when companies open up the platform like that and let others use it. So, all right.
You're gonna have to let us know how it goes if they're there at the event.
I will. I've invited them to the event next week, so let's see if they can come out and tell us a bit more.
All right, very cool. Well, our first story, we got 6 of them. And yeah, we're only like 9 hours into the show already. But our first story is about this company called PlaceCode partnering with Friendly's Restaurant, where essentially this is a promotion that delivers scannable Placecodes to households on the coupons, and basically you the consumer will then scan that coupon. It's a QR code, and it will actually help you find either a Friendly's restaurant or a place where they sell Friendly's ice cream, give you the directions to the closest store. And I think this is fascinating. This is that blending of you'll be able to judge the impact of something like this pretty quickly because of the scans.
Yeah, it's that mashup of online and offline, right? Yeah. And I actually tried it, because they in the article I read, they had the link that you can actually go to the place code for Friendly's, like the master code for Friendly's. And so I went to the URL, and it asked me to share my location. And when I did that, it basically, there's none in Canada, but it popped up the ones in upstate New York that were close to Toronto, and you saw that right away. So it's neat. I think that you can drive location-based, web search, traffic from a code that is sitting on a coupon or maybe on the box of ice cream or whatever. And so they have this as, you can do this kind of universal search that shows all the Friendly's locations near you, or you can have it be very specific to the one that happens to be in your neighborhood. So they've got kind of what they call a master code, and then a location regional one, so to speak. So yeah, this is kind of neat. And Friendly's, I mean, I don't know if you've ever been to one, Rob. I have. There's actually one near where we go to in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, every year, and so we'll go there for ice cream with the kids. Yeah, it's great. It's it's just like everybody goes there with their families for ice cream, right? And
Sounds good to me.
So if you've got this, if you've got their product at home, or you want it at home, and you just need to know, where to get it. You bought it in the grocery store, you need to know where you can get to want to experience it, in setting. It's a good way to drive traffic, I think.
And I think it's a good example of things that you can do. So we all get these kind of brochures in the mail. We get our IKEA brochures, we get our Sears brochures, we get our, whatever, restaurant brochures. And I think that this is probably just a good example of bridging that gap between the paper and digital. So Placecodes, good company. It's placecodes.com if you're interested in that. And
And just one other side comment. As I was reading more about Placecodes, it's actually a company that I wasn't all that familiar with. And so they not only do they have these codes that drive traffic to location, they have a time-based version of it as well. So they also did a project with a comedy festival. Now I forgot which one. And so obviously the festival runs over a few days, and so they could actually drive codes that help you identify when the event is happening. That you're looking for. So that's cool too. That they can trigger them based on time or date.
I like that. I like that a lot, and that's the flexibility of these things. You just got to get them into your printing cycle and onto the coupons, and it's the first start. Now, the second thing to be able to do, I think that the next stage of this is allow me to buy and have it delivered. Same-day delivery, right? Come on.
Yep.
Come on. Amazon same-day delivery, world's biggest company on the planet, delivering your ice cream cold when you need it the most? Come on.
Gotta like that.
Placecodes.com. All right.
All right.
Macy's.
Yeah, so our second story is really a story about Shopkick and Macy's being the first customer of this new service that they've rolled out. But we've talked about Shopkick a few times on this show, especially back in probably year one, I would say. When they launched their technology, their ultrasound based technology for detecting where people were in a store that had the Shopkick app and the Kickbucks program, which is their loyalty program that gives you rewards and all of that. And Macy's was one of the original customers on that. Still is, obviously. Best Buy, Target, others had been experimenting with it. But as much as the volume of Shopkick users is growing, I mean they're up to 8 million users now, I understand. They've had some challenges, and the challenges I would say are really the original platform, the ultrasound platform, does require hardware installation of these devices that emit that frequency, that sound that the smartphone app can pick up. And so, now as we've seen huge progression in the indoor location space, what's happening is that, Apple with iOS 7 and the iBeacon technology has really rocked the retail world. Everybody's jumping on board and testing this thing. And Shopkick's sitting there going, well, we better get on board with this or we'll be, sort of irrelevant. And so, if you're not familiar with Shopkick, and Macy's, basically, you walk into a store, the original platform can detect where you are as long as you have the Shopkick app, but the app must be open and running in order for that to happen. So you launch the app when you walk into a Macy's store, and it can then detect where you are in the store and then push you relevant content or offers or what have you. And so what they've announced now is this thing called ShopBeacon, which basically leverages the iBeacon technology to do the same thing, except for because iBeacon is on the iOS platform is connected to things like Passbook, you don't have to actually have the app running. It can just push notifications to you,
trigger something
because it knows the device is there. And so, on the one hand, I think this is a good move for Shopkick to, be a little bit more generic and a little more appealing to the retailers that are, basically, jumping up and down to test iBeacon, right? And, it's not even readily available yet, and everybody's trying to sign up to the developer program and get on board with iBeacon. And so Shopkick's sitting there going, we're going to die if we don't do this, right? At the same time, I think it's, everybody's doing iBeacon, right? So, what makes you unique and different here at Shopkick? I don't know, really, other than, you're saying, hey, we have a hybrid solution, which is our app with our loyalty program combined, with the traditional ultrasound technology combined with iBeacon.
Yeah, it still requires hardware in the store, and I guess what their big thing is that they've got, as you said, a number of millions of users that are already using this that can then seamlessly roll it out into Macy's, and Macy's has always been a big supporter of what these guys are doing. But that was my question: is what about their own technology? Like, you always hate to be the first company in with new tech, right? Like the ultrasound piece was the real first indoor location thing that we ever heard of, right? When it came to implementation.
For sure.
So,
for sure, they were early on.
But it shows you, it takes a company like Apple with low energy Bluetooth and the iBeacon technology to be able to make this a mass product. Like, we all have, anybody who's upgraded to the operating system has the capabilities already on the device with low energy Bluetooth, and you just need a beacon on the other end to be able to wake your device up. But it just shows you the challenges here for anybody trying to create a standard where a company like Apple or an operating system or a company like Samsung building on Android can then go in and do something like this and wake up the world and take them in a different direction, right? Make it easy for everybody to be able to do this, and that's what Apple's plan was all along. We saw the example from Citi Field in New York. We're about to see it inside of Apple stores,
yep.
And here we are, with Shopkick doing it inside of Macy's. I still think that there's value because Shopkick is more of a loyalty play now than anything. That's what they've become.
There is, right? But on the technology side, you have to also think about, we talked about this just a few weeks ago with Shazam. I mean, the Shazam technology is not, is very similar.
Yep.
to the original Shopkick platform.
Yep.
And Shazam's got
380 million people,
400 million users, right? Yeah. Not 8 million users.
Yeah.
If Shazam teams up and says, "Hey, we're going to do iBeacon too," what does that mean for a company like Shopkick, right?
Yeah.
So I just worry about what is the unique piece here really for them now.
I wonder if their exit,
and it can't be we have a loyalty program and 8 million people.
No, but I wonder if
there's a lot
exit,
of people who have that.
Could their exit just be that Macy's rolls them into them? Like, could they become maybe Macy's loyalty program, right?
Yeah, could be.
But I just like all of a sudden, this whole indoor stuff that you've talked about for so many years is now escalating, and it is we're at the beginning of this, and it's a massive industry. But it takes a company like Apple or somebody who has a pervasive platform to be able to open this up, and it's just low energy Bluetooth, so it's not limited to the device. But man, like, it just overnight, your business changed.
For sure.
Crazy.
All right.
So, the third story here, like, this is an interesting one, PlaceIQ, we've talked about many times. They've just been awarded. They were awarded a patent, I think earlier this year, and they are getting into the precog, previsit, predictive intelligence piece of for analytics to see basically who you are, what you've bought, and where you've been. And is this the cookie that we've been talking about? That mythical cookie?
This is all about the cookie I've been talking about. Absolutely love this company. First of all, they're providing exactly what the agencies and brands want, which is, how do we measure the effectiveness of all this location-based stuff? And so we talked, a little while back when they launched the PVR, the place visit rate, as a new metric around this space, and how, important that was in terms of tracking, hey, I saw the mobile ad, did I actually go to the store?
Yeah.
And looking at that movement of the device, from the identifier, the hash ID.
Yep.
And so now they've launched these two things, one called PIQ Analytics, that's, I hope I'm saying that right, it's PIQ Analytics, and another thing called Previsit. So these are really interesting because you know, the Previsit one in particular I think is really interesting for me.
That's the cookie. That's the cookie.
Yeah, it's all about the cookie. So basically, Previsit, like it looks at, it estimates actually where the consumer was before they arrived at the physical store. Right?
It's crazy.
And that's really interesting. And then you take that data and you combine it with the PIQ piece, which is identifying which competitors, you know, the audience is likely to visit. You know, and so that kind of stuff is crazy, right? And then the PVR, which has been there now for a little while, which says they saw the ad, did they actually go to the store, right? So it's, you know,
that's attribution. Yeah,
it's this flow, it's that cookie, it's that transition from, you know, one mode to the other, you know, across locations, right? And this stuff is going to be invaluable to any brand, you know, that's looking to measure, you know, how effective these mobile campaigns are, these ad campaigns are.
Well said. Like, this is just absolutely. You know, this is the kind of stuff, as you said, that retailers, marketers are dying to know. And you know, we've often talked here, and I talk with Chuck about this all the time, is that the path to purchase is not straight anymore. There isn't a linear, you know, decision-making process to actually paying for it with your money. And that's what I love about PlaceIQ, is that they're giving the information, enough information to be able to take. You understand that I'm going to spend $100, but what I'm spending on is now up for grabs. And I think that with PIQ and Previsit and the attribution analytics piece, all of a sudden you've got that ability to make a sway, make that consumer change their mind about what product they want to buy and from what retailer they want to buy it from. And I think that really, it's like World War III in the middle of retail. And I think that's very, very, very cool. And these guys are creating it. PlaceIQ is creating this turmoil because they're opening it up like this. And I'm a huge fan of what they're doing. Yeah.
Awesome.
Very, very cool. Oh, look at that. 3 really cool stories, like Placecodes, Macy's deploying Shopkick, Shopkick's ShopBeacon technology, and PlaceIQ announcing the PIQ Analytics and Previsit, Precog, the mobile cookie, whatever you want to call it. We're starting to see it, and I think this is very cool. 3 stories down, 3 to go. Before we get to our 4th story, though, we have a special guest. His name is James Smith. He's the Chief Revenue Officer for a company called Verve. Hi, everybody, and welcome to that interview part of This Week in Location-Based Marketing. We're joined today by James Smith, who is the Chief Revenue Officer for a company called Verve. And he is in charge of all sales and all marketing for this company. And we are welcoming him with open arms. James, thank you for coming on and sharing your story, man.
Thank you. Thank you. It's great to be here. Thank you.
You are in New York City. I'm just going to go through the facts here. You're in New York City, one of the greatest cities ever. I don't know if you can see over my shoulder here. There's a little New York Yankees. I don't know if you're a Yankees fan, but there's a
absolutely
big Yankees fan. You know, you're across the river from you know, what I call Mecca, which is Bruce Springsteen's home state, New Jersey, the Garden State, and you're also right in the middle of what I would consider the most exciting spot when it comes to location-based marketing or mobile marketing on the planet. And I need you to tell people what you guys are doing.
Okay. Well, thanks for all that. We like to think of ourselves as being right in the square center of location-powered mobile advertising. So as a backdrop, we at Verve have been doing location-based mobile advertising longer than anyone, probably. We've been doing it for 8 years. Since
8 years?
Yeah. Wow. We're a startup that's, well, we're not really a startup. We're a technology innovator. We're about 120 people in the company now. We've got offices all around this country. We really started as a technology company building mobile apps and websites for literally thousands of news sites. Some of the biggest in every single DMA. So if you're in San Francisco, SF-Gate, SF-Cron, the channel NBC affiliate, San Francisco.sf.com, all those were built and powered and still are by Verve. And you know, the deal that we make with those folks is that we can go out and sell the advertising, and of course they get some revenue in return as part of that. But what that means is we've been able to build a location-based platform on which we can test and then execute location-powered mobile tactics. And we believe we've gotten, you know, very good at it. There's a lot of people in the marketplace, but few who power and actually own the inventory, or I shouldn't say we own it, have the inventory and have the visibility into what's called first-party data, which is crucial in the location space. We find it is what is the key differentiator. If you're going off of a lat long and you don't have first-party data, you're making a guess as to where the source of that lot long is. It could be the zip code that somebody entered when they registered for a particular app. It could be the tower that's closest to them, which could be very far away, depending on what state you're in. But when you're looking at first-party data, when you have inventory that nobody else has, and you can look at that, you can come up with the best tactics, the best technologies, and the best location data, which ultimately means better performance, engagement for consumers, and results for marketers. And then on top of all that, what we're in fact getting into very deeply right now is what's called attribution. And really what that means is proving that this advertising works by using some of the same technologies, by being able to track a lat long to a device into a retailer after we've served an ad for that retailer, comparing groups that see the ads and don't see the ads, and seeing whether it's more effective and where it's effective, most importantly. So we're just at the tip of the iceberg on location-powered advertising, but it's really a key differentiator for mobile marketing. We're hopeful that we'll continue to grow and expand.
Attribution is so key when it comes to understanding the impact that mobile marketing has had. Because, I've seen a ton of survey results that say, listen, especially for retailers, that they're not really approaching mobile with any vigor simply because there is no attribution. There is no way to really quantify the impact that mobile is having, especially this coming Christmas season, holiday season, Black Friday. They seem to be shying away, a good number of them, and it's surprising to me. But attribution is really got to be, it's that missing link right now anyways, in the early stages of this revolution, isn't it?
We think it's an important component. I mean, primarily, it has not typically been the job of a media provider to also do the research and study and provide the results. In fact, some people would say it's a conflict of interest. We're the same people selling you advertising, and we're going to tell you we swear it really works.
We're so good.
Yeah. That said, because we have these technologies, because we've got 50 million unique visitors on our platform for whom we see first-party data, and another 50 million for whom we can screen location data, we have that ability, and we're putting it to use. But not just our own proprietary technology. What we've also explored is using third parties like Nielsen. Using third parties, in fact, to connect the lat longs we have, the devices we have, with households anonymously, and then providing household credit card data and transaction data and scanner data back to advertisers to show them that this advertising is working. And there's a lot more to come. I mean, there are some very significant technology companies and some significant technology on its way out that actually will, provide Bluetooth-enabled devices in retailers that will basically speak to the device, so that it's not only do we know that somebody went in, but the actual retailer can measure, how many people are driven in via the advertising. So it's a very, very, very exciting, very complex world with much more to come.
It's really gotten complex, as you said. Like this entire industry, like it used to be simple. And you come from, from like a print background. You worked at the Rolling Stone magazine for a little while, and
but that was in the '60s.
That was that was during the best time ever, right?
I've been in the digital space for 20 years now.
20 years, but you understand, and you've worked with the newspapers. You understand the pain that these guys are going through in this transitional period, and but it used to be this great, very simple thing is that you would put an ad in a newspaper, you would put an ad in a magazine, you would put an ad on the television, you would deliver a flyer, deliver a coupon, and then there was a direct path for that consumer to say, okay, seen ad, go buy, right? But now there are literally 7,000 steps in between where you can get interrupted in that path to a purchase. And part of that is your job, right? Is that you see that somebody has, $20 and they're willing to spend it on product A, but you look at it and say like, okay, they have $20 to spend. Let's see if we can bring them over to product B at a different retailer. Is that like, it's gotten that complex, hasn't it?
Well, yeah, it has, but the consumer path has always been complex. Yes. But now we have tools to see
just how complex it is.
Right, and to identify consumer. I mean, what's very exciting about this is ultimately, if we do this right, we're not just going to be serving advertisers better with location advertising because it's relevant and it's in a physical context, but consumers, right? I mean, ultimately, that's when they engage. This is an ad that's meant for me that makes sense in the physical context that I'm in right now, whether it is sitting on my couch in my home, whether it is in my office, whether it's while I'm driving, or whether it is in a mall. Needless to say, those are all different mindsets for consumers, and different types of ads, even from the same advertiser, would make a lot of sense in those situations. Now we can provide that, and I think consumers ultimately are going to appreciate that.
That is James Smith, the Chief Revenue Officer for Verve. If you're interested in finding out a little bit more information about Verve, go to vervemobile.com. I have a little bit more of this interview that I did with James. It was too long to include it all in this single episode, so I will include a link at the show notes on untether.tv. This is episode number 157, that you can actually watch the entire 20-minute interview that I did with James to get a little bit more insight about what they're doing, who they are, where they're coming from, where they're going. And then at some point in the next number of weeks, I will have Vistar on, which is the other side of this story, to talk about what they, their impression of what's going on and this relationship that Vistar and Verve have created. So just a he said, she said.
There you go.
Thank you, James, for coming on, and thank you for watching. Jumping back into the stories.
All right. So our fourth story today comes from Pinterest. And, we don't talk about these guys enough, I don't think, on the show.
Never heard of them.
But, they kind of jumped on the radar this week because they launched a new type of pin that you can put on your Pinterest boards, and that is a place pin. So it's all about location, and this is really about, giving Pinterest users the ability to map locations of the things that they're actually sharing on the pin boards. If you pin a restaurant, now you can tag the location of that restaurant to a map. And so on. And so, very simple in its functionality, but obviously extremely useful and I think very useful too in increasing the social magnification, the sharing aspect of the value of these boards to other users beyond your own board, so to speak.
Yeah, this is really effective. Like, I started thinking about I don't use Pinterest. Maybe I should. They've introduced things like the ability to pin stories and episodes, so we might be able to pin, do some stuff. But I was, the demographic might not be right. Maybe that's shifting. But this is interesting because if, for example, we're going to Washington, D.C., right? We're going to Washington. And if I had friends to begin with, just if I had friends, it's an entirely other show. I'm working on therapy for that. But if I had friends that were on Pinterest that had spent some time in Washington, and they pinned a whole bunch of restaurants that they liked and they reviewed, and then I could actually just go to the Washington board basically and pull up all the restaurants or the hotels and those kind of things. I think it's a very interesting way of planning your trips, and this is interesting. I thought, what could I use it for in Ottawa? And we used to have this map of high-tech companies in Ottawa. And that kind of was very difficult to keep up. So if I could actually create a high-tech map of the city of Ottawa, where I could just pin where the location of some of these great companies are located, then you could get that map of the split of where all the technology companies, like just something simple like that, I think is very, very cool, and that would be helpful and usful to people
for sure
in the city.
You know what we should do just for fun, Rob? I'm just thinking out loud here, but it might be interesting to take one of these shows that we do and kind of like pin the locations of where the stories are based.
That is
an
awesome
Spraffl,
idea.
We pin it in Edinburgh. Pinterest, we pin that wherever that is. PlaceIQ is obviously in New York and so on. That'd be interesting just to create a board for an episode.
Yeah, we're gonna see. No guarantees.
Because we always, I'm very careful in picking these stories to make sure there's geographic spread to them.
Yeah.
It's not all North America for sure. So yeah, that could be interesting.
That's a very good story. That's a very interesting.
Speaking of which, our next story is way on the other side of the world.
Yeah, this is Siberia.
You talk about me, opening a chapter in Nunavut. Well, this is not too far.
I'm okay with going to Siberia as well, man. This is so. I think this is very interesting. If you combined this story, which is called Bombsquare, which is basically a game. It's a social game that you play over your city. It's layered over your city map with different friends, and you basically go to war. It's like a war game against your friends. Virtual war game against your friends on a real map. So you fight each other, you choose them, you battle them. I got a little video that's going to be playing in the background as you see it. So if you're not watching this, that's a shame because you're going to see some gameplay and that kind of stuff. But I wonder if you could take this Bombsquare idea and combine it with something like Spraffl. So if if there's a bad review of your restaurant, it's an anonymous battle, but I could go to Bombsquare and I could destroy that person who did it. Like it's a whole intertwining of the anonymous, but the venom. So you take out all your frustration right in something called some Bombsquare. But this is neat. You go to bombsquare.com and it's a war game literally over your city with your friends.
Yeah, and when I came across this week, it reminded me of last week when we were talking about Ingress, the Google spin-off game there, and and that what they were doing with bringing that to airports. Well, this is not just some fly-by-night thing that's happening. I mean, the idea of blending gaming and location and physical location is just in its infancy, and this is going to be I talk all the time about location sharing, and every time somebody asks me about the privacy issues and all that kind of stuff, I always, as come back to value and relevance and all that simple equation, right? And then when we talk about deals and coupons and discounts and all of that, right? That for me is, not what it's ultimately about, right? It's about, content,
Yep.
As the incentive for sharing location. And this kind of stuff, like Bombsquare, people who are on this, who are engaged with this, or Ingress or anything like it, or, Angry Birds in McDonald's locations or what have you, this is not about a coupon or a discount or a deal.
Nope.
And this, isn't about anybody. They don't question, their privacy, of sharing their location. They just want to play the game.
True.
Right. And that's what I like about this kind of stuff.
I am sold 100%. If there's enough value like Ingress, then people will give up their location for that. And Bombsquare is very unique. Like, you need more than one friend to be able to play it because then it gets a little tired. But this is, and I think it has to be in English too. And I don't think that this is in English. I've seen screenshots from the game that you just saw on the screen, and it's not English, not close to English. But this is a neat idea, and you're right. If there's enough incentive to play, and it isn't going to be about a coupon. It doesn't have to be about a coupon. What was that McDonald's that we saw where they created the augmented reality game on side of the table, right? That's another perfect example, right? Man, we download apps to play games on our smartphones. This is just another example of something like this. Now it's fun because it's actually people. I'm waiting for the real life Risk game.
Check it out, Bombsquare.
Bombsquare.
Reminds me of my days of playing Risk, Rob.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm waiting for the real-time Risk game that I can play against you. Like, hey, look, I got the Parliament Hills surrounded. I'm coming after you, right? The Glebe area. I'm gonna destroy you, right? I'm gonna take over Shopify.
Yeah.
Anyway, all right. Our sixth story. This is cool, and if you let it soak in for a moment after Steve tells you what it is, you will start to think about the ramifications of this and the potential of this. Amazing.
Yeah, so every once in a while on this show, I mean, maybe more than every once in a while, but like pretty often now, like we're finding, these stories of just crazy, innovation in technology, in hardware and software, like just people doing amazing things, right? You remember we talked about creating, power out of the airwaves, with the ambient backscatter stuff.
Wicked.
And we talked about Disney doing that thing with, basically creating energy, using
friction, animation,
and like crazy stuff. And it's along those lines that, today we're talking about Philips. Good old Philips, the lighting company.
Yep.
Teamed up with a company called Desso, which is a carpet company, and they've created something called light transmissive carpets. And this is not in prototype. This is like real product, like that they're starting to roll out. And so the idea is that you have a carpet that you can roll out somewhere, and it's got light LED built into it, that you can then activate and turn on to create logos or words or arrows to point direction or what have you. I mean, this is crazy stuff, right? And so they were giving examples about using this at trade shows to direct traffic, or using this in a hotel or what have you. I mean, or in an airport. And what I love about it is that a carpet's a carpet today, right?
Yeah.
You lay it down, or you stick down a floor decal, with your advertising on it. This is something that you can change the message, whenever you want, right? So I love this. I mean, the potential for this, and it's location specific, relevance is huge.
Yeah, and this tied with a smartphone with probably something like iBeacon or low energy Bluetooth tied into the LED lighting, woven into the fabric. You can start to just think about the potential. It is absolutely amazing. So think about when you're going to a movie and you're trying to find your theater and this can take you down that path. Think about it at a trade show, which I think is amazing to begin with, is that, if you're on a track and you've just seen a keynote and you've got these breakout sessions you want to get to, and because you've chosen the breakout sessions, for example, it also directs you to the appropriate booths inside of that display, right? That kind of all done by the carpets, all dynamic based on who you are and where you are. You just start to think about the display, and it's not like crappy little lights and like little flashing lights. No, the pictures are crystal clear, amazing. And this is a product. The only problem is that it's only launching in EMEA sometime next year.
You know what though, Rob? I think that's cool. I think that the
not
fact
cool for
that
us.
this isn't launching in the U.S. and other markets are gonna pioneer this thing and get it going. I think that's cool.
Yeah, and but
it's a Dutch company, right?
It is.
Philips?
It is. But the greatest thing they were talking about this is that this would tie into their lighting system, and it would tie into everything that they brought over here. But you're right in the fact that it's cool that it's not coming to North America right away. But I think that what this tells us very clearly is that if you think about where they're launching, Europe, Middle East, and Africa, is that these are emerging markets, but they're leading when it comes to mobile and technology, right? And mobile payments and mobile banking and all the things. Those are the test beds for everything that's going to come this way. They're worried about, they're already doing payments. They're doing, carriers as banks. They're doing all that kind of stuff, and we're worried about Instagram filters, right? It just shows you this great divide. Where do they think is the more mature market to launch this kind of stuff?
It sounds like it's a perfect mashup for our LBMA sort of pilot lab kind of programs to get with these guys and hook them up with some interesting mobile, smartphone location stuff and connect this thing up and run some interesting tests. But yeah.
You bang on, and I think that's. But it just shows you, man, they're focusing over there because they think that the market is more ready for this kind of stuff over there than they are in North America. And whether that's right or not, I don't know. I haven't talked to anybody at Philips or Desso, but it's a sign. You're looking for trends. So looking at these things
for sure. Love it.
Philips and Desso, that is very cool. LED flooring, basically LED lighting woven into the fabric. I just can't wait till I get my T-shirt, my real T-shirt, right, with the lights and hey, boom, boom, boom. Anyways. Those are the 6 stories. You cannot tell me that there are better.
You know what's coming out of that, Rob. You know what's coming out of that, right?
What's that?
As soon as you said that, I was like, now all of a sudden, Rob's going to have the Mood Ring T-shirt.
That's right. And you're going to see, like, if you're talking, a story that comes up is going to be like red, right? Flaming red.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what? But if you can do it, man, I would. That's something that I would buy. The woven fabric and wearables, and you start to think about what they're doing with LED lighting into fabric based on and if I'm having a health crisis, just sit back in a dark room and think about what the implications of these. I implore you, you will think of business ideas. But as I was saying, those were 6 amazing stories. Tell me one story that you'd want to replace, and if you have one that's better than that. Why didn't you tell us? You know how to reach us. asif@thelbma.com, rob@untether.tv. Why are you not reaching out, telling us your stories if they are better than that? If they're not, don't send it, because that's the quality that we got on the show. It's always been that way. Asif curates some of the best news from around the world. So those are the 6 stories. If you have one that's better, or if you just have one that we can add to these, please reach out. You know how to do it. Last piece here is, hey, listen, as our resource of the week, Asif, I kind of agree with this wholeheartedly. I've often said that, the measure of you as a human is that Facebook is the way that you want to be portrayed to the people that you want to impress. Am I right? Facebook and LinkedIn are in that way. So one is personal, the other one is business. The true you comes in when if you ever exposed your search habits through your browser. So everybody says, look, the way that you want to be portrayed as Facebook, the way that you actually are is your search terms. So it doesn't surprise me that mobile users are more willing to share their location than their actual browsing history.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree with this. So, I mean, this is a study by Millward Brown that Street Fight published. over 1,500, almost 1,600 people were surveyed in this, consumers who had downloaded a mobile app in the past year. 43% of which said they were willing to share their location with companies, and only 10% said that they would share their browser history.
I wonder why.
Of course, right?
Come on.
I mean, yeah, it's.
What else can you say to that? Right?
You can't argue it,
No.
right? I mean, you're bang on. It's exactly that Facebook argument. It's like, who do you want to be, and who are you really?
Yep, that's exactly what it ends up being. And so there's no surprise here, other than a couple of statistics that they say 43% of consumers who indicated they preferred receiving offers through SMS, and more than half said they would prefer a message that was targeted based on their location. So these are things that we've been talking about forever. But it's good to see that in comparison to something like the browsing history, I think that's a unique approach to this, but not much new here, but just reinforcing the fact that targeted, tailored, contextualized information at the right time, holy cow, huge impact. Yeah. And people are willing to give it up. And oftentimes they're willing to give it up for free, which is crazy to me, right?
Absolutely.
Ask for money. So this is at Street Fight Mag, but we're going to have a link. Well, this is just a story. Should I just link it out to the Street Fight Mag?
Yeah, we can just link it. Yeah, it's been up for a while. It's not that new.
It's not that new. But if you go to streetfightmag.com and do a search for mobile users willing to share location, you'll find it. Or you could just come to untether.tv, episode number 157, and click on the link, because that's what we do. You click on a link, it takes you right there. Well, Asif, so you are going to Scotland next week. That is it for this show. We're going to try to figure out when we're going to do this. Probably a bleary-eyed one of us, right?
Yes.
At some point.
We'll do it live from Arthur's seat in Scotland. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah.
Blasphemous.
I'm kidding.
Yeah, exactly. That's one way to get thrown out. But we'll be definitely back for episode number 158, which means 158 consecutive weeks. And we're striving to go after Cal Ripken. I think that we should get some award or something like that. What's the longest standing podcast? I don't know.
Who knows?
Probably Twit. Leo Laporte's This Week in Tech. It's like at 400 and something episodes. We got a ways to go.
Catching up though.
Well, and he's a little older than us, right? So you know what? If we just keep going, he's
time.
bound to retire. Someone's bound.
We just need that big contract, Rob. You know how these hockey players they go and sign these like 12-year deals. I mean, that's what we need, right?
We need a 12.
Who wants to do that, right? By the way, we're always open for sponsorship here on this show. If anybody is interested, we're happy to talk to you about that.
Did you know that this podcast, Asif, this very podcast, audio, video, syndication partners that we have, reaches somewhere between 40 and 45,000 people every single month? Did you know that?
It's crazy. I did know that. Yeah.
But I'm sure that people out there don't. That we're not just two guys sitting here talking to each other. You listen. You are listening to this. So we appreciate that. Spread the love. Share it. Give us a review wherever you download this, or put some money in our pockets and we'll keep talking. All right?
There you go.
We're done. Episode 157 in the book. We'll be back for 158 next week. Until then, Asif, safe travels. Enjoy Scotland. I can't wait to hear how things are going there, because it'll be the day after the event that we connect again. And for those of you who are listening, watching, wherever you are, whatever you are doing, thank you so much. And we'll see you next week on This Week in Location-Based Marketing. Later.
Cheers.